From the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. My name is Mehmet, and as you know, in each episode, I cover different topics from emerging technologies, startups, entrepreneurships, and I host with me CEOs, subject matter experts, entrepreneurs, and startup founders. And today, I'm very pleased to have with me today Jay. Jay, you are the CEO of JDAQA, which is a
Hello.
software testing company. I would leave the floor to you to introduce yourself and your company and what you are up to.
Yes,
The floor
sir.
is yours.
Uh, Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. So we do software testing. My background over the last 15, 20 years has been primarily in the quality assurance space. All we do is manual, automated performance and security testing for custom software development companies, for SaaS companies, and website agencies. And we've got three teams. We've got a US-based team, an offshore team in the Philippines, and a nearshore team co-located in Mexico. And we've got around 60 people right now. We kind of are the QA solution for our clients most of the time. So that's pretty much what we got going on.
Oh, that's great. Great to hear, Jay. Now, the first question I want to ask you, did you start entrepreneurship at an early age? Like, what drove you towards this path?
Uh, I ask the same question a lot on my show, it's a very good question. Yes, my mother was and still is an entrepreneur in businesses that I got to kind of see how that worked growing up. She ran an advertising agency, and I started doing websites for her clients when I was probably 12 or 13 years old. Making decent money for a 12 or 13-year-old doing websites.
Nice.
Um, did some little side businesses here and there, and then kind of went in the 9 to 5 world for quite a while. But built this business as a side hustle to start, and kind of grew it into an international testing powerhouse, as I like to say, over the years. So yeah, it did start early. Took a little bit of a break, but then got back to it.
That's cool. I was not lucky to do this jump from 9 to 5. Honestly, I did it very recently, but you've made the leap, from the 9 to 5 to consulting and then running your own business. Um, what was the most motivated aspect of this change? This is first. And at the same time, what were the challenges that you faced when you did this leap?
Um, I will say, as anybody that knows me, I'm pretty straightforward. Money, right? I mean, we're all
Hmm.
money is time and time is money. So having the ability to support a family, I have 5 kids. I have a lovely wife who's a nurse, and she was an overnight nurse. And my main motivation was to get her out of that job at the time, so she could kind of stay home with the kids and not have to work a job that she didn't really. It was draining on her, and I could tell. Um, the biggest challenges, I honestly I try to de-risk it from the start. I always suggest the same thing with everybody else. Consult, consult, consult. I mean, that's the way to start, is to do consulting where you're doing something in your spare time or after hours, or you can fit it in your lunch break or whatever it is. Like, try to do consulting. Use the experience that you have in whatever industry that is to kind of set the foundation for your business. Um, and that really de-risked the entire operation for me. I kind of built it up over time, and it just the main challenges were kind of fitting it in the day to day. I mean, I was working multiple jobs kind of at the same time at some point, where I do my 9 to 5 stuff during my breaks and run out to the stairwell and take a call for one client, and at the end of the day, I'd hop on, stand up and do stuff for other clients in different time zones. So it's a grind to start. So managing that, your family, certainly were some of the challenges. just the entrepreneurial business side of things. I didn't have an MBA, and I still don't.
Mhm.
So figuring out how to run a business certainly was a challenge. I used Upwork, which also helped de-risk the process, which was much
Nice.
more of a transactional platform. So it's very easy to start a business and do the things you have to do. Um, but the real pivot came when quite frankly, when the Ukraine war happened, I noticed that they cut off the entire country of Russia, which didn't impact us directly, but it made me kind of think like, oh, maybe I should have another stream of business than just coming from Upworks,
Mhm.
pivoting out of that into the real world. And on Upwork, like I said, it's very transactional. People are like, hey, can you do QA? And I'm like, yes, we can. And then they hand you some money, and that's kind of the interaction. When you step out of that world, you have to figure out, okay, who's my client? What's my message? Who am I talking to? Kind of figure again how to run a business a little more traditionally than I was doing before. So lots of different challenges depending on which phase of the business, we're talking about.
So, was this the main, I mean, source for getting the idea of JDAQA? Like, you spotted something on Upwork, and then you said, "Okay, I think this deserves to have its own business." Is this how you get it?
Yeah. I- like I mentioned when I was turning my wife out of that job, I applied for Uber, did all these different things. I tried to do, I mean, this was years ago. This is probably 10 or 15 years ago. Uh, and I just happened to stumble upon elance.com, which eventually got bought by Upwork, so now
Yes.
Upwork.
Yeah.
Um, and picked up some contracting jobs doing consulting, doing QA, and had a problem saying no to money, and tried to figure out how do I keep taking on contracts with the same amount of hours in the day. And the way to do that was to bring in some people that I'd worked with previously. My old boss at one point hired as a consultant to do some stuff with
Nice.
me. And one of my oldest tenured employees today, he came from my very first job that I worked in QA, where I asked him. I said, "Hey, would you be willing to pick up 15 extra 20 hours a week?" And he was down for that, and that was kind of the start. That was how it all started. Is starting to hand off that work to somebody else to do.
That's great. By the way, for the audience who are not old enough like me, there was Elance and there was Odesk. And then these two companies decided to merge. I think like maybe it's now 10 years almost, if I'm not mistaken.
Something
And
like
they
that.
decided,
Yeah.
yeah, so decided to do the Upwork, which became, the main, I would say, source for freelance work. Of course, there are like other. I'm not affiliated, by the way, with Upwork, but really, it's one of the best. I'm saying this for anyone who's interested to go the path that Jay have chosen. They are the platform because there are a couple of others. And also, I tried all of them on the both sides, client side and freelance side. And I think Upwork is the most esteemed one, I can say. Now, Jay, something I want to ask you, like, of course, and you mentioned something which I like you said, I don't have an MBA, and I believe you don't need an MBA to start a business. But there are some aspects to grow the business. And the most critical one is to be a sales guy. So, how did you tackle that to become a sales guy? For example, for me, like also I was a techie guy. I was like introvert. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, it took me a while to realize that I am a sales guy. Um, it was a very um, I remember sitting somewhere. I was sitting with a client of mine. We went out to dinner. I had, I had my nice clothes on, and some lady sitting next to us said, "Oh, what are you the sales guy?" And I was like, "I'm not the sales guy. Like, I'm not a salesman. Like, that's not who I am or what I do." Um, and it took me a long time to realize nobody's going to sell your product for you.
Hmm.
You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, which I think is just a general lesson for everything in life. You just have to, you're never going to grow if you're constantly comfortable. Um, but once I kind of realized, I am the sales guy. And this is the guy who needs to get out there, promote myself, promote the company. Um, think it was really just a realization one day, and I don't really exactly remember what the moment was, but one day I did eventually realize that um, my role in this company is to bring in new business, it's to foster existing business, and it's to uh, protect the resources that I have and make them feel comfortable and support them in the best way that I can. And kind of realizing those three things about what my role actually was, because I mean, I did everything for the longest time. But once I realized what I was really good at, um, it made it easier. It made, today I'm a sales guy, I'm a biz dev guy. That's all I do. And I just kind of make sure my clients are happy and that my people who work for me are happy. And everything's a lot smoother. So I think it's just taking that second to realize, like, yes, it's scary, and people are going to tell you no, and it's going
Mhm.
to be sad, and it's going to suck for a while, here and there to hear no. But the main message is that nobody's going to sell your product or services for you, especially early on. Like, you have to
That's
you
right.
have to do it, and if you want to grow, and you want to be a real business, um, typically the founder, the owner, has to kind of pull himself up by the bootstraps and say it's time to go out and bang on some doors and make some calls and do some things to make some sales. So that was kind of my transition into realizing what my role was as a salesman for the company.
Yeah, and I want to add something to what you said, Jay, and maybe I've mentioned this on the show a couple of times, but uh, people, they assume that sales is a bad word, but it's not actually. And I mentioned this because someone taught me this long time back. If you recommend a restaurant, if you recommend a brand, if you are a geeky guy and I'm sure you recommend a phone, a laptop, a headset to your friend, you are a sales guy because this is what a sales all about. Like you need to tell about what the value that bring to the other person. So yeah, like I would say I was in the same spot until I figured out 10 years back, oh, actually, I can talk easily to people. I can convince them about a technology. I'm talking about technology sales here as well. And it's like, yeah, you just need to go out and try it. Of course, as you said, Jay, first couple of times you might get some rejections, as they say. Yeah, but think about like a date. You don't get maybe the first time. So you need to keep trying, keep hustling, and you will get there. Now, what I want to ask you, like, you are in the software testing business, right? So, how do you are seeing, the trends? I would say going in the industry. I mean, in the testing itself, because now people start also to talk about AI, and maybe AI can do this for me. Like what are you seeing in from the trends perspective, Jay?
It's definitely a company size specific. Like, enterprise level has been pushing automation and pushing kind of that enterprise level uh, human free thing for a long time because they want to cut costs, they want to reduce drag on the manual testing team, all these different things. Uh, I get to say one of my favorite lines, which is, a fully automated test setup or a fully AI driven test setup is Bigfoot. Right? Like, everybody thinks they've seen it, but there's just a blurry picture of it off in the woods. Like, it doesn't exist. Like, it's not real. Like, you're always going to need humans somewhere in the process when you're putting software in your customers' hands. That's just the way I run my business. That's the way I have always kind of thought. Still, do we use ChatGPT to augment our services today? Absolutely. Do we use
Hmm,
stuff to help know, uh, expedite some of the tests that we run? Absolutely. Do we automation? Yes, yes, yes. Um, I don't know that there's been a giant shift um, from a testing perspective because you still need the human touch. It hasn't been replicated by any AI tool I've ever seen yet because context is so important with AI,
right.
but it's also super important with testing. That's the whole point of what you're doing when you're testing the software is the context. Does it work here for these users and these users based on this data and these different things and these conditions? And yes, I'm sure years down the road, maybe we'll get closer to that. Um, but the automation tools themselves obviously are getting more and more advanced and they're smarter and that sort of grab different elements on the screen or to do different types of comparison to test different things. We partner with a lot of the kind of leading uh, automation platforms for testing in the industry, which has been great for us because we kind of get to ride along with some of these great companies doing that tech work to stay ahead of the curve. Um, but virtualized browsers and stuff where instead of just kind of standard record and playback, you can an instrumented version of a browser that can emulate any sort of situation. Right? You can any type of browser type, any type of connection type, any scenario you want to kind of start the test at. Those virtualized browser platforms are kind of leading the way, I think, with the next wave of what QA is going to be. So whether it's mobile or desktop or whatever it is, um, if you can emulate the end user's environment and ecosystem that they're going to actually be using your platform, um, and do that at scale, you'll be much better off when your product hits your customers' hands, right? Because you've been able to test it in as many different scenarios and ecosystems as possible. So, very long-winded answer to your question, but hopefully I hit some of your points.
No, that's it's completely fine, and I cannot add anything more because you covered it all, Jay. Now, at the beginning, you mentioned like you work with like I mean different type of clients, but um, are you seeing like any signs of slowdowns when it comes to a specific, I would say, vertical within the software industry? Like we know, like for example, SaaS is very fast. Everyone is going that route. Like, how are you seeing, the industry going here? Like less mobile, more web. What's the status? I would say.
Um, I don't know that it's really made any big changes. I think, um, certainly that it comes in waves. Everybody wanted to do native mobile apps for the longest time, and then they realized, wait a minute, like there's a lot of things you can do if you build a web-based version of an application instead of making it native, right? You can have the same version for Android and iOS and all the different platforms if you do a browser-based
Mhm.
mobile application as opposed to building a native one. Um, I don't know that there's any trends in that sense that we've seen. I mean, there's always going to be a push for native apps because it pushes people's brands, right? They want their application on your phone. So we've seen a lot of those. Desktop is interesting for us specifically because having a physical, software application on your desktop certainly has gone down over time just because of the SaaS model, like you mentioned, like SaaS is king. Um, but having the expertise in being able to test those things has gone back up because there's not as many people out there that have that
Mhm.
skill set to be able to test it. And I will also say that from a VR perspective, a lot of applications are desktop applications. They're .exe, things that you run on your desktop to interface with these VR applications that we test. They're not SaaS. They're
Mhm.
So there is kind of a resurgence in a sense of testing and development when it comes to desktop applications because a lot of the AR, VR stuff is way easier to just drive through your standard kind of executable desktop application as opposed to trying to do it on a mobile app or trying to do via SaaS. So certainly, some ups and downs and it comes in cycles and waves, but um, you know, SaaS is king, and there's a million more of them every day, and for good reason. Right? I mean, they're scalable, they're
Correct.
deployable, they're accessible. So, yeah, I think those are kind of the general trends that we see.
Yeah, it's not surprising, but the good point on and good observation, I would say, on the desktop part because of the AR, VR stuff. And I think, uh, as you said, like I was in discussion with some founders here in Dubai that they are into the AR, VR space, and they mentioned something similar. So it's good that you also had the same observation. Now, you mentioned at the beginning of our discussion, Jay, a little bit about you had to hire and try to find good people. So, from a founder perspective or a business owner perspective, how do you first attract good talents and how do you retain them? Because I know this is a huge problem nowadays for a lot of startups, a lot of businesses, high attrition ratios, people doesn't stay much. So how do you deal with talent acquisition and retaining?
Acquisition has been, I mean, frankly, we started with Upwork to begin with. We found a lot of people through Upwork because it's a marketplace for people who kind of do what we do. As we grew up and got bigger, word of mouth actually replaced that because we have, you know, uh, we do a specific type of thing. We are contractors by nature, where we kind of parachute in and do our thing and establish ourselves pretty quickly as somebody's go-to resource for QA. Um, so having somebody who has a contractor background, they typically may know other people that are in the contractor space or have worked with people who are in a company. We have, for example, in the Philippines, where one of our big offshore team is. Um, a lot of those people previously worked at big companies that are over there, like Accenture and all these other companies. So a lot of people who know people that were there, we've kind of spidered out through there, and to kind of flows back into your other point, which is retention. I mean, if you treat people like human beings, you value their ideas. I mean, this is not rocket science stuff. You should be like, oh my God, it's crazy. Like, if you treat them like human beings, you value their ideas, you respect them, you don't talk down to anybody, you build a culture of respect across the team. And I can't tell you uh, how many companies I've worked at that just didn't get that. It's almost akin to like the guy, the convenience department store owner that has all the advertising and the sales and all this great stuff, and they have all the merchandise, and then you walk in and the people that are working there are just rude and don't understand customer service, talk to people. Right? If you foster an environment where you're nice to your employees and they feel validated with their work and they feel like they can come talk to you, um, we've had really good luck keeping them around. And also, obviously, like monetarily, I give out bonuses regularly. I don't just do like an end of the year kind of. It's like life is not based off of a 12-year calendar. Like, we do projects, we do, day to day stuff. And if I see people and I built a culture in where our team will come to me and say, hey, so and so has done a really great job on this project. And like, that's an immediate, like, absolutely. Not only am I going to reach out to them directly, I'm also going to get them a bonus. I'm going to, make sure we also have referral bonuses for people who bring in other people from their network. So it's just fostering kind of an environment where people feel comfortable, they feel validated, they feel appreciated. And I know that's not the answer everywhere, but that's what works for us. And we've had a lot of the same people for years and years and years, and they just enjoy working with us and for us, because we just at the base level of my job, like I said, one of the three things is to protect them. And I'm always going for my guys, and I don't let clients talk down to our people. And if I do, then if they do, then they're not our clients anymore. So I try to really make sure that I protect our guys and make sure that they feel appreciated.
That's great. And like, hats off on the culture part, Jay. Uh, and also on the part that you cannot measure, I mean, in one calendar year. Like, this is very old fashioned. And for people who like want to also kind of deep dive in this and how to measure, I'm reading the book. I should have read it long time back, but I'm reading it now, which is by John Doerr, which is the OKR book, Objective
Measure what
Key
matters.
Results.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I advise everyone. I knew about it long time back, but just I had the chance to. I'm reading it. I'm almost done with it. And in the last chapters, they talk about the culture and how it's important to put the culture first. Then you do this quarterly, and you do this weekly or bi-weekly check-ins on whatever objectives you want to put for the team, and you do it in a collaborative way. So I think, Jay, you did fantastic here, I
Thank
would
you.
say.
Thank you.
um Most welcome. I know that you are a host for a podcast, The First Customer, right? And you interview successful founders about their initial customers.
Yep.
I'm curious to know, like, what are the most valuable lessons you have learned from those conversations?
Ah, that's a good one. Um, I think the most important lessons I've learned are everybody's story is different. Everybody has a path. My path is different. It's very easy as a business owner. When once you have a little bit of success running a business, people want to know how you do it. People ask you questions, and it's easy for me to regurgitate my story and my past. But I think the biggest lesson I've learned is just everybody gets to where they are, and that's not just business; it's everybody, right? And so, like, just their path there um, is all different. Their perspectives are all different. But universally, valuing people's time uh, has kind of been the one thing that I've seen across the spectrum of good CEOs and founders is they respect their people's time, they respect their clients' time. Yeah, I think those are the biggest lessons.
Yeah, I think it's an experience by itself. I'm learning a ton of information every time
Right.
I do an episode like what I'm doing with you today, Jay. So yeah, it's a huge learning experience. I advise everyone, if you have the time, if you have the passion to, you know, be consistent, to do a podcast. I'm advising everyone to do this. Now, while preparing for this episode, I spot something in your profile, Jay, which caught my eyes because I think we are similar, but I want people to hear it from you.
Sure.
So you, yeah, uh, you are known for the 5-for-5 routine. Can you explain what is this routine and how it contributes to your success?
Yes. It's something that just kinda developed over time. You hear the Five AM Club or whatever book is a great book, and it talks about waking up at 5 a.m. and everybody talks about the five. It's really just to get the hours in before anybody else is up. I mean, that's really what it is. You feel like you're cheating a little bit by stealing a little bit of the day before anybody gets to it. So the
Hmm.
5 a.m. workup is the first. The wake up is the first thing. Working out is the second thing. Movement is medicine. I can't tell you how much better physically and mentally I am when I get my 30 minutes of workout time in every day. Uh, the other thing's a full body stretch. I don't think anybody in my stratosphere really understands or understood uh, how important stretching is. It's a great kind of like pre-meditation move. And so the next thing I do is meditate for 10 minutes a day and then I journal. So that's my 5 for 5. Each one of those things I think has different kind of related benefits, and it's just the end of all that. You feel like you've already accomplished, you know, 90% of your day. I mean, what can't you do if you can wake up at 5 a.m., you work out, you do full body stretch, you meditate, and you journal? I mean, those are all things that people like strive to do at least like once a month, right? So if you do all those things in a day everything else after that is kind of downhill, right? There's not much challenge that I can't take on. And yeah, so that's my routine. And of course, I slip every now and again. I mean, we've got a baby who's going to be 1 years old next month. I've 4 other kids, so like, there's times that things slip, and that is my
Oh,
goal, and hit it, just about every day.
um, the reason I wanted also people to hear from someone other than me because everyone calls me the 5 a.m. guy. Of course, I'm Uh, the book itself by Robin Sharma, like it caught my eyes. I remember a couple of years back when I first read it, and I was seeing on social media a lot of people kind of joking, making like mocking up the book. Oh, you don't need to do this. I don't know. And then I read the book, and exactly what you explained is the concept is it's not like about how long you do it. It's about you break your habits and then you wake up before everyone else. And then you know what? Like I can tell you from my experience, I wake up actually at 4:30
Mhm.
and then I need to prepare because also the book explains I advise everyone to read the book because you need to prepare your kid, you need to prepare yourself. So by the time it's like almost 5, I do, of course, Robin explained it in 20 20 20, so 20 20 minutes, but he said like you can mix and match actually. So basically what I
Right.
do, I go for a 40 minutes while I have like calm music or like sometimes book if I'm jogging, ebook. Sorry, yeah, ebook. Yeah, to do this one, and then meditation, and then the journaling part.
Mhm.
I can't explain how much this was beneficial for me, and the feeling when it's like 9 and you look what you have accomplished already in the day because it's been like 4 hours now
Yeah.
since you woke up. I say, okay, my day is almost done. And you know what? Like even the book mentioned this. It's okay. Like you can take the rest of the day off if you accomplish what you have to accomplish there. It's
Yeah.
a life-changing book. It's a lifestyle, I would say, and it's a very healthy one. Like,
Yeah.
uh, I lost weight because of it. I became more active. Actually, I did the jump from corporate to entrepreneurship because of the book. I can claim this. I can guarantee you. Um, we are almost done, Jay. So just what advice you want to give for young entrepreneurs who want to start? Like what you can tell them?
Well, first of all, congratulations on making the jump from corporate, and congratulations on the 5 a.m. It's a big thing.
Uh,
Um, it is life changing. And my only note about that is that it's also it also makes you sleep more. Makes
right.
you it makes you go to bed early, and it makes you invest in your sleep, which is huge. So, uh, young entrepreneurs, don't wait. Stop waiting for the
Mm,
perfect moment. Keep saying, "I'll do this." I have so many friends that, ask me how to do stuff, and and try, and I give them advice, and I mean, personally, I just get frustrated because it's a lot of waiting, and it's a lot of, "Well, I could do it, but it's because of this, and it's because of that, and I couldn't because of my job." I'm like, just stop waiting. Just do it.
yeah.
Go consult, take whatever experience you've got, go on Upwork, go on Fiverr, look, I've given Upwork more money than probably anybody should have to give, platform with my fees that they've taken over the years. So I'm not affiliated, like you said, with Upwork, but it is a good platform to get your feet wet in consulting. Find, my marketing consultant didn't use Upwork. She reached out to a list of like her top 30 or 40 connections and said, "Hey, I started doing, marketing consulting, and I was one of them." And I was like, "Absolutely, I'd love to check out your service." And now she's got a thriving business because of it. So uh, you don't have to use Upwork, but don't wait. Just go find something that you have experience in, that you're passionate about. Um, and whether it's a business or a product or a service, if it's a product, go start testing it. If it's a service, then start getting clients and start doing stuff pro bono if you want to, just get some social proof out there. But number one advice is just don't wait.
Yeah. And to add to what you said, Jay, because you mentioned about not to wait, I did the mistake and I waited long enough. Right.
Well, you're
So
here now. It's all that matters.
yeah, exactly. Like, there's nothing called late actually, but I'm again like I waited, but and then I can say something for the younger generation. Like I'm what they call them the millennials. I'm not Gen Z. So guys, you are lucky because um you know the internet today is different when I became young and the
Hmm.
internet was already out. But you can test your ideas in no time. I'm seeing people who are like just it's not like a get rich quick scheme. It's not like this, but I mean, it's test your idea quick scheme. I can claim this. And you have a lot of places where you can test your ideas, right? So you can go on Twitter, you can go on Reddit, you can go on Product Hunt. There are plenty of places where you can go out and try your ideas. Actually, you can even test it with your friends and families and the people who
Right.
are around you. Yeah. So 100% on this point, Jay. And
Card is a great website too.
yeah.
CARDD.com. I think landing pages, you can make a million
Oh,
like 10 landing pages for like $10 a year or something. And you can try
let me,
out a bunch of different
it's
ideas.
good. It's good you mentioned about the landing page. Just yesterday, I came across, Framer, and Framer now they have an AI powered landing page generator, and my mind was blown. Like, I just wrote like I gave the prompt, and exactly what if I wanted to design on Card on any other landing page platform, exactly that's what I would do. No code tools are there as well that can help you.
Yep.
Automation tools are there. Like AI is there as well. So you can do a lot of things. You can just go out, be passionate about what you do, and go do it.
There's no
Uh,
excuse. There's no excuse these
ex-
days. There's never been a
exactly.
better time in human history, uh,
Mhm.
to start a business. So, definitely no reason to wait.
100%. Jay, as we come to an end, I have a very famous question. I hope that
Alright.
you will like I hope that you will like it. So the question is, what is the question you wished me to ask you and how you would answer it?
Mm, man, that's a good one. I mean, I have to start asking that on my podcast. What question did I wish you would ask me? Maybe. Um, I mean, you asked a lot of great questions. Um, how about I'll weasel my way out of this one. How about how could they find out more about JDAQA?
Oh,
And then
yeah,
and
please.
and then I would say, hit me up on LinkedIn, uh, Jay Aigner on LinkedIn, or go to our website, JDAQA.com. How about that for we out of that question?
Yeah, that's good. But by the way, I don't want to upset you, Jay. But what I do usually at the end of the episode, I just say, Jay, how
I
I'm gonna
know.
put
I
you.
did. Well, you asked what you didn't ask yet. So I told you I snuck that hard question.
Yeah, great. So, guys, don't worry. In the episode description, you're gonna see the LinkedIn profile of Jay, and you can reach out to him. And you would see also the website of his company as well. So, Jay, thank you very much for joining today. I really enjoyed the discussion, and it's nice also to talk to fellow podcasters as well. Like you feel more
Yeah,
comfortable with
for sure.
rather than like talking to people who are like not in the podcasting platform. So honestly, it makes the job much easier for me.
Well, it was very
Uh,
nice having me. Thank you so much. You're awesome.
Oh, oh, thank you very much. So as we come to an end, for the people who are watching us, if you are a first-time visitor here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can find, the title. It's over there. And if you are listening on your favorite podcasting platform, also don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Not only this, please also tell your friends, your colleagues, your family members. We are trying really to make something different here, bringing knowledge, bringing experience from people in the field, in tech, in technology in general, and in business, and helping people to start their business as well. This is the aim of this show. And if you have any questions, any feedback about this episode or the show in general, also don't hesitate. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. You can shoot me an email as well. You can find it on the podcast description. And if you are interested to be a guest like Jay today, again, I'm open for that. You can reach out to me. We can arrange for the topic, for the time, and we can make it. And as I say at the end of each episode, thank you for tuning in. And until we meet in a new episode, thank you. Bye bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.